Awesome. So we started our recording and I will go ahead and have our panelists introduce themselves, and I'll start with Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Twiner, and I am a full-time recruiter for Fast Enterprises. I'm also an LSU alum. I graduated in 2015. And my company is a software development company, so I mostly recruit for tech and software development positions.
Awesome. Thank you. Leah. Oh, you're muted.
You know, I think I'm going to get a shirt made that says, I think you're on mute. Miss New World. Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Carter. I am the University Recruiting Manager at Halliburton. Been at Halliburton for about 7.5 years now. And Halliburton, we are an oil field services company. So we are the workhorse of the oil and gas industry. We are the ones that go in and provide the services to extract all of the resources out of the ground for your big oil companies. I am not an LSU alum. However, I am a proud honorary Tiger. I went to Florida State and graduated a few years ago. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. And Chris.
Yes, my name is Chris Shumack, and I work for MMR. We're an electrical and instrumentation company that we used to specialize just in the industrial sector, but now we're getting more into the commercial side of it as well, and hopefully space exploration too. Hopefully that's one of our goals for this year. So I graduated from A&M in 1996 with a bachelor's degree in architecture. I graduated with a master's from LSU this past year in workforce development, 100% online program, which I'd recommend anyone do because it's a great program. And then from there, I've been with MMR since 2008, and I've been pretty much heading up the recruiting section since 2014.
Awesome. So welcome to all of our panelists. And so now, after some introductions, we've got question and answers. So students, now is the time to put in any of your questions that you might have. I will go ahead and kick it off. For all of you, is there any way that the opportunities in your company has changed in the past year? Perhaps new roles due to new business needs, increased remote workforce. Basically, what has changed in your company since COVID-19 hit us?
So we haven't had any increase in our different roles come up or decrease in roles because we're always constantly hiring. I think the biggest change was just that we are typically on site and relocate our employees to our clients, but that's a little difficult right now. So now new employees are starting training virtually. They're interacting with clients virtually, as well as the recruiting process has changed a lot. Everything's virtual now. Also, if you were to do a final interview, you would do it through Teams on with a developer. And then ways to do different tech questions and things like that. So it's definitely an adjustment for us as recruiters, as it is for you as students and potential candidates.
For Halliburton, yes, there's definitely been a huge change. The pandemic was not nice or lovely to the oil and gas industry. So we definitely have had a change as far as the decrease in the numbers that we are hiring for. I'd say probably, and that's to be expected, but I'd say the biggest change is the role. The entry-level roles that we typically recruit for that I would say are bread and butter would be roles that are within our field operations. A majority of those positions have been moved to a remote setting. So you're not spending as much time in the field, or really any time in the field. You're able to execute all of your responsibilities that you would have normally executed out at a job site. You're able to do that remotely. And then with that, the skills that the business is looking for is shifting. We have been focused on any and every kind of engineering because we are will teach you everything that you need to know. But we've seen more of a shift in requests from leadership to bring in more computer science, computer engineering, data analyst types of folks in these roles. So the base skill set, engineering is something that is still important, and there is a place for all engineers at Halliburton, but there is an increased demand in those students who have that computer science and computer engineering background.
Yeah, I think for us, what we've focused on is we started our online training initiative back in 2015 for basically how you would install a widget. And now what we're doing because of COVID, just like the other two as well, or just like all of us are, I should say, for industry, is we're focusing more on online training. We have our internal database that we use, and we start off with classes to get you through in order to continue your career path with us and also meet your goals. But the focus for us is we are actually hiring instructional designers now to help us facilitate that path. So because a lot of the department heads and upper management, they don't know how to do that as the younger generation does, including myself. So these are things that we're all learning and getting ourselves out there and, learning new technology, which is always a good thing to do to make the process faster and better, that at the end, every organization is going to improve upon that and hopefully increase their revenue.
Awesome. Thanks so much. It's always good to hear about what are the shifting needs of industry. So it sounds maybe a little bit like some of the skill sets that you need to be successful in your organization have changed since the pandemic, but maybe for others it hasn't. So if the skill set has changed, actually we have a question in the chat. For Chris specifically, are there still applications for analog instruments, or is everything digital?
Yes, well, it depends on the facility and where it is. We still use both types. The older facilities, still require the old technology. We're trying to get those updated as we go forward. So.
Awesome. And then for all the reps, what is the best way to see potential internship or employment opportunities?
If I can jump in real quick, we have all of our available positions on Handshake right now. And you can also apply on pretty much all of our websites too, I'm sure. So.
Yes, for Halliburton, when it comes to internships, we post all of our opportunities on the career services site. So the opportunities that we have are posted there currently. There will be some coming up, so stay tuned. We do not externally advertise our internships. We tend to keep them only for the universities that we recruit at or by word of mouth. So, but it's posted on your career site.
Yeah, all of ours are posted on Handshake as well. They're posted and linked to the registrations for the fairs, and then they're posted on our website as well. Pretty much anywhere that you see advertisements for Fast Enterprises, there's a link to where you can apply online.
Awesome. And the question is there any specific automated software that usually companies use to filter applicants' applications? And so if you use an ATS, if you have any comments that you want to let students know about it.
So I've been asked this question before, and it always makes me laugh a little bit because I wish that this was like I don't know about the other panelists, but I wish that this was like a thing that was like very common, but no. So for my company, I go in and I review every single resume that is submitted, and I review that and then your answers, and I follow up with you if I want to follow up with your application.
Yeah, I kind of touched on with Stephanie. We do the same thing. I don't know if there's software out there that can actually replace someone's expertise of looking through the information to see if they're really going to be a good fit for you.
Agreed. I agree with everybody. Every resume that we get for any opportunity, we look at every single one and review every single candidate.
Wow. Well, thank y'all for doing all of that work because that is a lot. And so also good to hear for students that their resumes at your companies will definitely get in front of the eyes of a human. Another question, when would be a good time to begin searching for internships for this summer in your respective industries? They say obviously sooner the better, but is there a sort of internship season to keep an eye out for?
Yes, if I can interject, yeah, our internship, we don't just do summer internships. We do until they graduate. So if they're a sophomore, we want them to sophomore, junior, and senior year. If they're just a junior, we want them to junior and senior year, and et cetera, just with senior. So we want them the whole time, but if they're just looking for a summer internship or a summer position, I will tell them to apply in the spring, and that way we can get something lined up. It usually takes a while to find a spot to, I'm sure Leah is in the same boat as me. We'd like to have them as soon as possible so we can plan accordingly.
Exactly. This is a prime time. If you're thinking about an internship, stop thinking, get your resume ready, get ready for the career fairs that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. The sooner the better, and apply for as many opportunities as you can. My guess is there aren't as many opportunities as there have been in the past just because of COVID, but apply to everything that you feel you are qualified for.
Yeah, so I guess this is one change that COVID has really affected in my company is that we typically hire about 100 interns for the summer. So it's like a summer program, about 10 to 12 weeks, and we relocate you to the site. But unfortunately, last summer we had to cancel our internship program because of the pandemic. And so this year there just wasn't a big need because it's such sensitive information because we work with governments. And so it's just really hard to train and give interns the correct equipment. But so our internship numbers like decrease significantly. So those are already filled. But I would say in general, for what I've seen is that majority of them get filled in the fall. And then if there's some leftover spots, we will recruit in the spring, but really we recruit for juniors going into their senior year because we want them to come back and work for us. So my advice would be that to start in the fall, and even if you didn't, but if you're in that time frame, junior going into senior, still keep searching and searching.
Awesome. So we have another question. How important are internships in the work life of a software engineer? If anyone has it.
So definitely internships. I mean, if you don't have an internship, it's not counted against you, but it definitely helps. Usually I feel that typically if they didn't have an internship, there's a reason why. Maybe they had a low GPA that's come up since then. Maybe they had improved on their communication skills. But even if you didn't get an internship, or if you were turned down for an internship, I would still encourage you to apply to that position or to apply to that company again, because I know for my company that it looks really well when maybe the first round they didn't get it, but then they came back and really improved those skills, and then we give them a internship that summer.
Awesome. So other than technical skills, what do you most look for in an applicant that makes them stand out?
So technical skills are important, but I would say the other skills that really stand out are problem solving skills, because a lot of times our clients have issues that aren't on Google or Stack Overflow. And you would be surprised. I've had candidates like in interviews like cry because they didn't have their resources like Google. So I would say strong problem solving skills, as well as communication skills, are a huge skill to look for, because a lot of times you're working with clients that don't have a technical background. So you need to be able to explain to them those terms in ways that they're going to understand, as well as explain to them what the software can do and ins and outs, and really gain their wants and their requirements, and then go back and forth and have that strong communications channel with them. So.
Yeah, outside of those are all great things. We're all looking for some additional things that will make you stand out that we're looking for. Your preparedness. How you come to an interview is something that we are looking out for. Have you done your research on the company? Have you put together some really good and thoughtful questions that you wanted to ask about the role, about the company, and how it could be an impact for you? The interpersonal skills. So, we want to see that you're not robotic. We like to see candidates who have a personality come in and be relaxed and have a conversation. Being able to see and understand your personality is a great way for us to see, okay, are they somebody that can mesh well with the culture? Some other things that we look for: adaptability. Things are changing every day. Like our life has been nothing but change. So how well do you adapt to change? Are you open to it? Does it impact you significantly? So that adaptability, especially in the world that we live in now, is key. Your professionalism, and that depends on the role, right? Depending on what type of role you're going for. Professionalism may look a little bit different, but we want to see how do you conduct yourself? How do you carry yourself? Your word choice, your body language, all of these things are things that we are paying close attention to and determining, okay, you know what? This candidate is really standing out because of A, B, C, D, and E.
Wonderful. And so I know you all talked a lot in that answer about kind of in the interview process, like what is your body language? What's your word choice? How are you putting yourself forward? We have a question in the chat about specifically the resume and kind of what makes that person stand out as a candidate to interview versus a candidate to pass on. And they said, besides basic qualifications like school year and major.
So on the resume, because your resume, a lot of times that's our first opportunity to meet you. Taking a look at work experience. If you've had some internship experience, or if you've had some work experience in general, that's something that we're going to take a look at. Roles within your student org. If it's a student org or a volunteer, we're looking at your engagement. I know I've swiped. I don't know which is swipe right, swipe left. I don't know which is the one that dismisses somebody, but I've been using that analogy lately, and
I don't know either.
So, but I swipe the right way on candidates and say, hey, yes, I'm interested in interviewing you. If you have hobbies on there, seeing that you are engaged in other activities outside of school, that's something that can make you stand out. It is challenging now because that's really our first opportunity to meet you a lot of times is your resume. But think of some interesting things that you can put on there that would make you stand out. If you participated in some type of competition, again, you're a volunteer opportunity that really impacted you. Those are some things that will make me swipe the right way on a candidate to interview.
Yeah, and so definitely, your resume is the first impression. And so an average time that a recruiter looks at your resume is 6 seconds. So you want to make sure that you have the information where it should be so that a recruiter can quickly find it. So that's one. And then two, really another thing that really stands out is if you have just a great formatted resume. So, I'm going to expect you to be interacting with clients, sending them emails. So if your resume is, not formatted well, there's a lot of typos, you're not really expanding on your bullet points, then I'm going to assume that that's how you are in a work setting because that is your resume. So making sure that you just have just a strong resume that's, you've looked over, you've really, really reviewed it. And the Career Center is a great place for help with that as well. And then just making, like I said earlier, just making sure that you have all of the information that a job, posting requires. So if they require something and you have no experience in that, then you're more than likely going to be passed on because if they require that specific thing. So just making sure that you have if you do have that experience, making sure that you list that on your resume.
Yeah, the only thing I would probably add, y'all, Stephanie, y'all both brought up great points. The only thing I would add to it is probably, in addition, if you have time to do a cover letter, and that would just be described more in detail, as an inclusion of what exactly you're looking to do and what do you want to gain from the internship or the full-time position is helpful to us also.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. So this just in from the chat, swipe right equals good, swipe left equals no. So we've all learned something today. I'll do a follow-up question. I have two of them actually. So first one, Chris, you mentioned the importance of a cover letter. One question I have is, if a cover letter is not required for an application, does submitting one improve a candidate's likelihood for a response, help them in any way? What's your thoughts on that?
I personally think it does, because that means they took time to really research the organization and also research the position, because they're explaining to you why they want the position or what they're looking to do, what their ultimate goals are. I always make a point to read them. If they took the time to do it, I'll definitely read them. As long kind of what Stephanie is saying too, though, that it's not a form letter, then yes. If it's addressed to me with MMR, then yes, I will read it. And they will get more of a longer view from me and a potential opportunity to visit with me. Yes, definitely.
So what I'll say about my thoughts on cover letters is to definitely make sure that in the application process, you're aware what's required, the documents that are required for that application package. I know for Halliburton, because of the volume that we get, as Stephanie mentioned, we scan resumes very quickly, and we're putting them to the side to determine which candidates we want to interview. For the most part, from a recruiter's perspective, I'm not a hiring manager, but from a recruiter's perspective, we're not reading cover letters. At that point in time in the selection process, it's not something that's needed for us to get a candidate to the next step in the process. Now, a hiring manager might absolutely want to read that. So the hiring manager, the person who is looking for the candidate that is going to work on their team, I know a lot of times they really appreciate that additional information that Chris mentioned to learn a little bit more about yourself, what you've done, what you're wanting from the role. So it doesn't hurt to have one ready and prepared, and keep in mind, and just like he said, also, if it is tailored to a specific person in that company, it will make someone stop even more to read and see what you have to say. I will say with cover letters, again, I have seen cover letters and it said, dear sir, madam, at Chevron. I'm sure, again, using the dating analogy, if there was somebody who was interested in you and they called you and your name is Stephanie and they say, hey, Sarah, how you doing? Click, you're not going to get. So that would probably be the biggest thing that I would say when it comes to that cover letter, is to add that personal touch to it, but make sure that personal touch is the right person.
Yeah, so I think so we don't have hiring managers. I guess like our recruiting structure is just a little different. So, the recruiter will do the first round interview, and then you would do a second round interview with the developer from headquarters. So it's not necessarily a hiring manager. So cover letters, I don't feel like they're that necessary. Really, when I look at them, I'm kind of like on the fence with the candidate. I'm not sure. So I'm like, let me read their cover letter. Let me see, what their interests are. Did they address it correctly? But yeah, definitely that is another thing, just paying attention to those little details. Like I was saying earlier, like your format of your resume, making sure that you're addressing the right company is a big thing, because if you address the wrong company, I will automatically swipe left.
Awesome. So it sounds like there's kind of a spread on who cover letters matter to, kind of what the process is, and the style of the recruiter. So go ahead and ask my second follow-up question. I know there was a lot of mention when we were talking about resumes about the various types of experience, volunteer work, leadership positions, maybe a part-time job, things along those lines. In my experience as a career coach, a lot of students will dismiss those types of experiences and say, that's just me being the president of whatever, or it's just my part-time job, or it's just this or just that. Can you speak to how you view those experiences for a candidate, and kind of how they kind of fit in the larger picture? Because a lot of students will say in engineering, well, it's not engineering, so it's not really that important.
Yeah, I get that a lot of times when I'm doing resume reviews as well. And I always tell candidates to keep that on there, because like I feel like I've mentioned this a lot, but soft skills are a huge part of also the recruiting process. And just like Leo was saying, we want to see your personality. There's so much more to it than just your technical or engineering skills. There's time management, there's soft skills, there's communication skills. Were you working with clients? Because you're going to be working with customers. So I think all of that is great to keep on there. And especially, we know that you're entry level, and in college, we don't expect you to have, so many roles in engineering. So I think any work experience that you have is great to put on your resume, that you worked for in college.
This is a great question. I've been doing some resume reviews recently.
I agree with that too. I would say, if I can just interject real quick, what I would say on that too is, what we kind of look for is any experience at all with construction industry is what we're for. Did you do anything to gain valuable knowledge? Whether it's electrical, like what we would do, or if it's going to be working for Halliburton, for instance, or it's going to be working for a construction company. Just any construction experience is kind of what we're looking for. Anything.
Yeah, definitely. You never know what experience you have that can translate into a skill that's needed. And I'll use a great example. I spoke with a student who said that she was a delivery driver for Domino's for 5 years. She did that before she started college, and she did that all throughout college. And she said that she had talked with someone in her career office, and they instructed her not to put it on there because it wasn't relevant to the roles that she was applying for. And I told her, absolutely put it on there, because here's what it tells me. It shows longevity, that you have the capability of staying at a company for a long period of time. That tells me that, okay, you do shift work. So especially if I'm a company and the role requires shift work, coming into a role that, has a 12 to 12 type of shift, you're not going to be a stranger to. You're having to interact with customers all the time. You're going to have to make sure you're providing good customer service. So if you're a delivery driver, you got to make sure that order is there on time. You're interacting with the customer, pre-contactless drop-offs, but you're having to make sure that you're providing customer service. So while it may not be, as Stephanie said, it may not be a technical skill, that experience that you gained could absolutely apply to that role that you're seeking.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much for that. And we'll go back to some questions in the chat. We have one from a student who's older and doesn't have a very great work history. They're coming back to college after a period of time, and they say their resume looks like trash. Direct quote. How can they overcome this? How can an internship help their situation? And in what ways can my family prepare for an internship, assuming that they have to leave for it?
So one thing that I really regret not, or when I was at LSU, I really regret not taking advantage of the career center, because they constantly have employers coming in and doing resume reviews. They'll help you with your interview skills. They're just hosting events like this. They just do so much, and I just didn't take advantage of it. And so I think even if you're older and you don't have that much experience, like you can still be considered entry level, and you have that career center resource available to you, and they're so helpful. And every time I'm going to school, I reach out to the career center. So they're very close with employers. Also, I've had career centers or professors reach out to me with potential candidates they thought would be good. So really just take advantage of the resources that are available to you through LSU. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I would say another opportunity you have in addition to Career Center is I would get involved in the student organization that's affiliated with your degree plan, because they constantly have people in industry coming to presentations, inviting you if they're locally to come do tours of their facility, all sorts of ways to network, and which is going to be a benefit to you down the road.
And I'll add on to that. Everyone has a story. We all have a story. And it may not necessarily be the ideal story in your eyes or the story that is similar to your classmates, but we all have a story. And I definitely think it's one of those things that whatever your story is, you decided to jump into work before, going to school, or you decided, what, I don't even know what I want to do. I'm 18 years old. I don't know. I need time to figure it out. That's what some people do. You take time to figure it out. Others know exactly what they want very early on, and others, it takes a little bit of time. They need to live life first to figure that out. You have to go through things in order to figure that out. So, that would be my advice to you is take life and what it's brought to you, what you've been through, and use that as your story to help make you shine. Just because something isn't the greatest, or you don't feel like you're this perfect picture of what a candidate should be, does not mean that you are not a great candidate for a job. You never know what your life story could have taught you, or what that life story can bring to an opportunity. So embrace that. Like they said, take advantage of the resources that are there for you, because I promise you, there is an opportunity waiting for you if you just do that and just embrace life that's happened.
Yeah, I'll kind of add a little bit onto that. So last week, this just reminded me, last week we actually interviewed a candidate. She was actually homeless for a bit in college and had a low GPA, like I think she had like a 2.3 or something. But she came into the interview and she blew it out the water. She was amazing, and everyone was rooting for her to get to the next stage and get an offer. And so it just really shows you, like, if you work hard and overcome that, like just how Leo was saying, you can use those experiences. Like, she has great problem solving skills now because she's been through so much. So definitely, just because it isn't ideal to you, just like Leo was saying, I think that was a great advice. Just because it isn't ideal to you doesn't mean that a recruiter is going to automatically, not look at you or not hire you because of that.
Awesome. Another question from the chat. Do you have any suggestions for people who are looking to transition from skilled trades into office or management positions?
I would say an internship would be ideal for those candidates. That'd be the ideal route to do if you're still in school. Now, if you're out of school, I would say, once again, just like what Stephanie was saying, go to the Career Center, go to Handshake. There are all sorts of resources out there in order to get your foot in the door. And then just interview, sign up for interviews after interview after interview, because you will get, the job will find you. You just have to go search for it.
I'd also add on to that is it would be good to invest some time into some training courses, making sure you know and understand programs like Microsoft's Office Suite and what falls in there, PowerPoint, Access, Excel, Word, showing that you've taken some courses or some training classes for skills that are necessary for those types of roles will also help recruiters see, okay, wow, they've really invested some time and probably some money in ensuring that they've got the right skills in order to make this transition. Let's check that out. So that would be something that I would suggest as well.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience or insights to this, but I think Leah's advice of doing the online courses is a really great route to go with that, just so that recruiters see that you do have that skill set. And then also maybe mentioning that if you're writing a cover letter, maybe mentioning that transition or on your application somewhere, so that recruiters understand that maybe your previous experience doesn't relate to that, but it's something that you're interested in.
Awesome. So we'll shift gears a little bit to kind of job searching strategies. So in the Career Center here, I often talk a lot with students about how important networking is for a job search or an internship search. But students will often seem hesitant to reach out to professionals and network with them. What advice do you have for students who may be networking for the first time?
So I was definitely like that when I was a student at LSU. I remember going to a career fair and someone trying to sign me up for an interview, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, like, why are you so obsessed with me? Like, I just didn't understand, that. But I think the key takeaway is that's normal. Like, the recruiters are there on campus for just that period of time. Especially pre-pandemic, when I was traveling, like, I was only on campus for those 2 or 3 days. So if you wanted a position, like, that was your time to come and talk to me, and that was my time to interview you. So I would say just, and also, like, recruiters are just people too. So, we've done stupid stuff. We're not like above anybody else. I mean, we're just people, we're approachable as well. And so, I mean, why not take advantage of that time that we're on campus? Because that really could make you stand out.
Something that I tell that I'll share with students is make sure you are memorable and not a memory, but memorable in a good way. If you are meeting someone, the best thing to do to help nurture that network or that connection is to follow up. So if we're meeting in a resume review or we're meeting some way, what I would like to see and what's going to help make me remember you is, okay, we spent some time chatting. Ask, hey, is it okay if I connect with you on LinkedIn? Would love to have you in my professional network. Absolutely. Get connected on LinkedIn. And then follow up with that person. Shoot them a note. Hey, I met you at the career fair virtually. It was great talking to you. I learned a lot more about Halliburton. This is really interesting. I appreciate you connecting with me. I look forward to chatting with you soon. I think following up to nurture that relationship is key. The second thing that I will give you as a piece of advice that's really important when it comes to networking is you usually don't see the benefits of networking right away, okay? It takes time. And so when you are meeting with a recruiter, when you are meeting with people, other professionals, think about what value you could bring to that person. Maybe you are a member of a student organization and you meet Stephanie and you're like, hey, I think you'd be really great. We'd love to have you potentially come by and talk about your company and how you've transitioned, how you've used COVID to transition the workforce. Would you be interested in hosting a virtual session and talking with us? Guess what? Stephanie maybe have been like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to get with a student organization like this. That would be great. Guess what? You've immediately brought value to yourself and you've brought value to Stephanie. You never know how that could turn into an opportunity. So you may think, I don't have anything of value. You absolutely do, even if it's just a suggestion or a recommendation for you. So make sure you know your worth.
Yeah, and just to kind of go off of that, also, we're constantly building our pipeline. So even if you are, a sophomore or a freshman and you're not eligible for one of our internships, I'm still going to get your information, and and so then in 2 years from now, when I'm coming back to LSU, I'm going to reach out to you and say, hey, we're going to be on campus. We're going to be doing these events. I remember you. I got your contact information. Come out and speak to us again. So that's a good thing to keep in mind too, is that companies are constantly trying to build that pipeline. So yeah, just like Leo was saying, it might not be an immediate effect, but it will definitely help you down the line.
Yeah, the only thing I would kind of add to that is we do keep, I guess we all keep resumes online for 2 to 3 years. But I will say that something that just happened to us this week, we had someone who applied for a position within our HR department, but we felt like they were a better fit for our accounting department. And so, and when we don't have a position available in 2 or 3 weeks, we already reached out to an interview for it. And we think that that'd be a better fit for them here. And they kind of agreed as well. They'd rather crunch numbers all day than visit with people like, recruiters like us. So, which is a good thing for them as well. So they just didn't know what their passion was at the time.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for that. Another question from the chat. Do you have any tips for interviewing? Probably so many.
I don't even know where to start. I guess to kind of touch on what Leah and Stephanie talked about earlier is I would say number one thing for me is please, I hate to even use the word begging, but please know what company you're interviewing for. It's nothing more embarrassing for you and for me, myself as a recruiter, to have you come sit across the table from me and not know what we do. That tells me you didn't do any research ahead of time. You have no idea what you're looking to do. It also tells me you have no passion what you're looking to do either. So you're kind of like that, I guess that endless vessel, just going with the current in the water with no passion. And that's kind of what we're looking for: those who want to be here, who have a passion and want to be in construction, and want to make themselves better in the long run. Obviously, that's definitely a big one. Kind of something else where the other Stephanie and Leah mentioned was going to be how do you present yourself? Do you have eye contact? Are you punctual? There are a lot of things that go into this. It's one of the things that I tell a lot of the young individuals that come into work for MMR and the recruiting part is there's way more to I guess than the interview than just looking at a resume. Way more to it. It's a lot of psychological things as well, which I know Stephanie and Leah can agree with me on that. Another good example is how do you address the email, okay, to a recruiter? Is it, hey bro, or is it actually, hey Mrs. Carter? Okay, that's a big difference. Do you write in complete sentences? Do you send me text messages in an email where half my life had a computer? Okay, so I don't even know what some of that stuff even means, the messages that get sent to me. I have to ask my son to help me out decipher what these code messages are. So what I would tell you is when you're doing communication, please remember your target audience. Assume that they're as aged or as old as your parents or older, and address them properly in the email, the cover letter, phone calls, okay? Because remember, we're not your buddies, we're not your bros, okay? We're your potential employer. And so you need to act and present yourself as you best as you can. So those would be my tips off the bat. There's several others, but those are the big ones for me.
We developed a few professional development courses that we've deployed out to a bunch of the universities. And one of them is the do's and don'ts of interviewing. As Chris mentioned, there are a lot. And Courtney, if you see that this is something that you get a lot of questions about, happy to host a session and talk about this. But I'll say being in a virtual world, a few quick things. make sure if you're virtual background, make sure the Tiger King or Cobra Kai is not in your background. You want to make sure that you've got something that is professional, something that's toned down. As you can see, we all have backgrounds. They're not distracting, or they don't take away from the person, which is you. You're the focus. So make sure you have an appropriate background. Make sure you get comfortable being in front of a camera. Virtual interviewing is not going away. It's not. So be very comfortable with being in a video interview, and figure out how to connect with someone via video. More than likely, as you're going through the process, you will have some type of video interview, and we want to see that exact same person that we would see if we were in person. But there's a lot. No Tiger King, no Cobra Kai, and you'll be good.
Yeah, there are so many tips. And this might sound a little harsh, but it's true. I mean, the number one thing that drives me insane are candidates that waste my time. So, please don't do that. If you're not qualified for it, don't come up for an interview. If I ask you to do something before an interview, such as apply online, please apply online before coming to my interview. Please show up on time. Please wear, it doesn't have to be a nice suit, but please don't show up in shorts and tennis shoes. Do your research on a company, just like they were saying earlier. And I've heard every excuse in the book. Oh, I had such a big project last night. Oh, I was so busy that this was a quick turnaround. I mean, you have your phone with you 24/7. Like, it just takes 5 minutes to Google a company and see what they do. So there's absolutely no excuse to go into an interview not knowing what a company does. Yeah, also professionalism. So, even if a recruiter is a little bit more laid back, that doesn't give you an excuse to, say unprofessional things, or, your email to be unprofessional. Don't text me, don't send me smiley faces in your email. So I just think that those are like normal things that candidates, you think that they would know, but maybe just like comes with time. But just working on your professionalism, I would say, is like the first step to really nailing interviews.
Courtney, do you mind if I touch a little more on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I like to kind of add too, though, is when you're kind of doing organization, try and be relaxed, okay? And kind of what Stephanie said too about not wanting to interview. I think we're all in the same boat. Even Leah can say the same thing when we're at your age. But the more interviews you do, the easier they get, okay? And that's going to help you tremendously down the road, tremendously. Because let's say after your 5th or 10th or even 15th one, you're just going to sit back, relaxed, answer the question. Okay. The other thing I would tell you is when you're doing your research, try and come up with 3 to 5 questions to ask the recruiter about the organization. A good one is, where do you see the company in 3 to 5 years from now? Okay. Another good one is, what do you like best about your job? What's the company culture like? Okay, part of it is the interview member is not just me interviewing you. You need to be interviewing me also, okay, about the company, because that is very important. You don't want to, agree to come work for an organization and find out 2 years, 3 years down the road that you made a bad decision because it didn't help you meet some of your goals. So that's why it's important. You need to do your research and ask the questions, okay? Another good one of those questions could also be, do you help with any, training outside of, on-the-job training? Do you help with any kind of school tuition, things like that? How can you help me meet my goals? That's a great question to ask, okay? Because oftentimes we don't get asked any questions, and it's like, does this person even have any passion for this job? And that kind of helps us out too, because the interviews go faster. But we're looking for people who want to care and want to help the organization get larger and be successful. That's what we're looking for. Another thing I would probably, they can ask is, what are the benefits like? Okay. And then, and also follow up with, what's the next step in the interview process? When should I expect to hear back from you? Is there a process? What can I do to reach back out with you? Like Leah mentioned earlier on in the conversation about, shoot a LinkedIn, send an email. Okay, a lot of things you can do to keep in our minds. Okay, because you got to remember, from our perspective, we're seeing hundreds of candidates. Every career center we do, we can see up to 300 or 400 in a day, and that's a lot of people to remember. Okay, and the ones that stand out are the ones that we want to visit with again. Okay, and then the other thing I would probably do, just for future, rather than research and coming back to your career goals, is please do not focus solely on the pay. Okay, yes, that is a component of it, but that is not one of the main components. Okay, you need to be thinking about this from 3 to 5 years down the road, where you want to be and where you're going. Can this company really help you get there? One thing that I've learned in my experiences in the working profession is, as long as you keep your head down and do your job and do it well, the money always follows. So that shouldn't be an issue. The positions, the titles, everything always falls to those who truly are in it for the passion and have a strong belief in what they're doing is right. Okay, that's one of the things that kind of upsets me too, is when we're interviewing someone, and I know Leah can probably say the same thing about this, and probably Stephanie as well. When they're comparing prices from what, let's say John Doe received from what, David got, they're not even factoring in the cost of living in California to Texas. All they're focusing on is the pay, and that is it. And you guys cannot do, I can't stress enough, you cannot do that. Okay, you've got to realize that there's way more to life than that. Okay, work-life balance is very key too for some people. Others, it's not. So that's another reason why you need to ask, how many hours should I expect to be in the office? How many hours should I expect to be in the field if there's a field position available? And I know Stephanie and Leah can tackle on this as well and add more things to it, but that's what I would tell you. You got to think about long-term this position, because within 5 years of your graduation, you need to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. If not, you've kind of spun your wheels, in the mud per se. Find your passion, whatever it is, you got to find it. And sometimes it finds you. Okay. Because when I was your age, I had no idea I wanted to be a recruiter. Okay, none, didn't even cross my mind. All right, I was kind of like what Stephanie is too. I didn't want to talk with anyone. I just wanted my first job and get out the door. Okay, I didn't want to visit. I don't know Leah's backstory either. Okay, but in hindsight, like Stephanie, I wish I would have done more interviews. Wish I would have used the resource center. Okay, at the career center and helped me get better for life. Okay, because this is the start of your life. If you have like a bad resume we heard earlier, or you, quote unquote, you say it's trash, okay, there is value in every resume. There is a value in every experience. You just have to know when to expand upon it and what company can help you with that. That's what I look for in a candidate. Someone who has passion, wants to be there, wants to help, and wants to grow. And we've often hired people before that didn't meet our qualifications, but they have the passion. And that's something that I cannot teach or force people to have. Either they have it or they don't. And kind of what Lee said earlier about the story, there might be a situation where they're unable to have a job. And just like Stephanie said, they might have been homeless, but they have the passion to do it. And that's who MMR looks for. And I know Stephanie and Lee would probably agree with me on that. People that have the passion, who want to lead, who want to get better. And you're going to make mistakes along the way, just like I personally have myself. But that's how you learn in life. And that's how you grow to be a better human being than you were when you started. Stop now, but I know Stephanie and Leah have things they want to probably interject too. I know there are times even my staff wants me to stop too, because I just have so much passion on this, okay, about getting people, motivated to keep moving forward, because sometimes it's so easy to fall back into an old rut, but it's hard to stay focused sometimes when you have life hitting you all at once, especially with COVID. And friends and family here that are, going through conditions with it right now that's out of our control.
Yeah, so my brother recently graduated from LSU a couple years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago. And I remember being so mad at him because he wouldn't go to the career fair, because he only wanted to do he only wanted to be a video designer in Seattle. That was it. He didn't want to do anything else. And I was just so upset with him because, and this is the one piece of advice that I would give to candidates. This is kind of like off track, but you know, your first job is more than likely not going to be your dream career. You have to start somewhere. Like I started off as a contractor for a company called Albemarle that's no longer in Baton Rouge because they moved headquarters. But I started off as a contractor for 6 months and then got hired on full time, and then they closed down. But from that experience, I knew that I wanted to do recruiting. So don't overlook any company just because you want, you know, the Google or the Microsoft, Facebook, you know, position. Like there are other companies that have great company cultures and benefits, and you know, those things are important too. So yeah, just don't, I would say just be patient as well with yourself. You're not going to start at the top.
And I'll do a final piggyback. I wanted to jump up and down as Chris was talking, just like, yes, 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 preach, preach. And, you know, I'm very honest with students, and I can be very blunt and direct, and I will be blunt and direct with you all. You've graduated from a great school. You've got this technical degree. You are on top of the world. You've got a wonderful GPA or whatever it might be. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. So manage your expectations. You may think that you know all there is about, you know, computer science and everything you've learned in a book. You've learned theory. It is so important to come in, look for that initial opportunity, just get experience and be humble. You're not going to be a manager in a year. You're not going to be a manager in 2 years. Heck, you may say you want to be a manager, but you really don't want to. When it comes to managing people, that's a whole nother gift that people have to have when you are managing people. But remember this, that humility is going to be key. And you've got a fantastic degree, you have finished school, and it's a wonderful accomplishment. Now you're coming into a realm where you've got to learn, put in the time and learn so you can build that career and determine what it is you want to do.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much for that. That was wonderful. We are up against our time. So I'll go to the next slide. Thank you, everyone, all of our participants. Thank you to our panelists for being here. For all of our students, you'll have a 3-question poll. So make sure you answer all 3 questions this time. Take you about 3 seconds. So please take that for me. And then on the screen, you should be able to see our upcoming virtual career panel. So if this was helpful to you, I hope that you'll consider attending any of our next 3. You can register in Handshake. And I'll just say again, thank you so much to our panelists. Your passion really did come out for your work. And so thank you so much. I know that our students got a lot from this. And thank you to the students who were engaged in asking questions and here for it. I have 2 chats. Yes, students saying thank you to everybody. Awesome. So that wraps us up. And let's see. Yeah, that wraps us up. Awesome. Thank you all so much. I'll let you all go enjoy your day.